So what I want to talk about now is what you can do if you're kind of getting a little bit of a late start. A lot of the times the students in our program kind of come to us, their OPT's already started, or it's like their second year of their master's, they have no internships. So just kind of like a little bit of a lack of preparation, or maybe just they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what American workforces look for. And no matter where you're at in your preparation, as long as you start to prepare and you work with someone who knows what they're doing, you can prepare at any time. So let's talk a little bit about some of the statistic odds and things like that for some of the late starting students, and what things you can do, what things you're not going to be able to do based on your start time. You can try to find an internship to place your OPT. The important part is to just place it and give yourself extra time, because the odds are, if you got this late of a start, you being able to find a job within 90 days is pretty slim. So you can look for part-time employment as well. It doesn't have as harsh of requirements as full-time. You can also look for contract positions. So those types of positions too, they're a placeholder for OPT. So they also have lots of good experience. So just kind of like park your OPT there and then keep looking for full-time jobs. And then in the meanwhile, you're updating or adding stuff to your resume that is going to help you be able to secure a full-time job. Networking. Guess what? It's not going to work this late in the game. So if you're wanting to find referrals or to try to network after you've already graduated, it's not for you. You lost your chance. Networking is a long-term endeavor. So you start networking maybe like 2 years or a year before you're going to start looking for full-time employment. You build relationships that are built on trust and built on mutual respect, and built on both of you giving something to the relationship and not just taking, right? Which is what you do when you just ask people for referrals all the time. It really comes across negatively in American culture when you do that and you don't know someone. So just a heads up for everybody. Otherwise, if you don't start early enough, networking is not going to help you. So you may as well just not even start, to be perfectly honest. So application odds. The typical American student, when they submit applications, they're going to hear back from about 15 to 25% of all the applications they send out. So let's say they send out 100 applications, they're going to get 15 to 25 interviews, first round interviews based off of those applications. The typical international student is looking at something closer to 5 to 15%, right? So here can be a bit of a numbers game for international students and American students as well. You're going to have to apply to as many positions as you can in order to increase your odds. It's just simple math, right? Simple probability. Now, of course, it's going to help if you have really great interview skills, you feel comfortable during that process, because that's going to increase the chances of you passing on to second, third, fourth, fifth round interviews. And you have to remember too that full-time employment, you're looking at as little as 3 interviews to as many as 5 or 6 for a full-time position. All those rounds. An interview process for a company could take 2 months, just one company, to go through all those rounds. So this is why you have to be prepared so you don't ruin these chances that you're getting, right? Internships post-graduation. So if you get a late start, trying to find an internship after you graduate can be difficult. You're going to want to look for this key characteristic in the job description when you apply. So a lot of the job descriptions for internships are going to ask that you have a certain graduation date in the future, or that you will be a certain class, like a junior or a senior at a certain point in time. You can't apply for those. Because if you have already graduated, that application is just going to go right in the garbage. Instead, you have to look for applications where they say that they aren't requiring any sort of like status in school, basically. And I will tell you that those aren't always the best internships because they're usually, one, unpaid, two, jobs where you aren't really doing anything that's going to help you in the future, and three, typically they aren't going to offer any kind of like assistance. So like if you have to relocate for it, they're not going to pay for it. They're not going to give you any kind of like savings or healthcare or anything like that, right? And they may not plan to ever. So you just really want to be careful with that, especially as more and more startup companies kind of tend to pop up around the US. They look toward international students to do unpaid internships because they know that they want the work experience. So, you know, if you have someone that you trust, it's really a good idea to run an organization's name and background by them and see what they have to say about it. Because I'd rather have you pass and keep looking than work somewhere that is going to take advantage of you, because that's not what you're here for.